Yes, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is the first video of my Beginner to Pro AI Agent series where I will be showcasing how easy it is to build AI agents with no-code tools such as NAN. Since learning how to build AI agents, I have found most value in follow-along video tutorials where I was able to build myself alongside the tutorial. I hated explanations of what AI agents, AI workflows, and automations were, as in reality, I learned quickest from experimenting with building these myself. So today I'm going to show you how you can build your first AI agent in 20 minutes that looks just like this. This agent can read, send, and reply to emails based on what you tell it to do. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. With any workflow, any automation, any agent, we need a trigger step. We're going to be doing this through Telegram today. That's where we're going to be prompting our AI agent to get the best results. We can come in here and add a Telegram trigger on message. And I'll put a link in the description of how you can connect your credentials to Telegram, but it's very easy. It literally takes 2 minutes. I'm using my email assistant demo credentials and my trigger is on a message. Here we've got our email assistant in Telegram, and like I said, it's very easy to connect this to NAN, and a link will be in the description. After this, we're going to connect our AI agent up to the Telegram trigger. We can come in here, AI agent, and what we need to give this agent is a brain, a memory, and some tools. We're going to be powering this by ChatGPT, the OpenAI chat model, and GPT-4o Mini is the cheapest one. That's our brain. Our memory is very easy to set up. So this is the easiest one, window buffer memory. And basically what this does is it allows the AI agent to look at previous conversations, depending on how long you set the context window length, allows it to look at previous messages and use those as context for what it's doing in that exact execution. And then finally, we need tools as well. But first, before I add the tools and configure these parameters within these tools, let's firstly connect our Telegram trigger to our AI agent. So we need to basically tell our AI agent what from the Telegram trigger it uses in its execution. I'm going to test out the Telegram trigger to actually put some data into it. We come into our Telegram and I'm just going to write test in here. We should be able to play this now. That has got our data. Here's the text, test. And this is all the information we get from that trigger. What we need to do in our AI agent is connect this to the text in here. We need to define our expression below. Here we can actually you can drag and drop this into here. Now we see the AI agent is configured with what we just said in Telegram. And now what we need to do with our AI agent is we need to give it a prompt. When the Telegram user says this, then you need to do that and give the AI agent context on what it needs to do, what tools it needs to call when. And we can actually do this very simply in ChatGPT. If we come into ChatGPT, I've already used a custom GPT AI agent system prompt generator for NAN. And I've put a prompt in here and it basically returns what we can put into our AI agent. I'm literally just going to go ahead and copy and paste this here. So I've added it in. Build me a prompt for an AI agent in NAN. It's attached to 3 tools, send, get, and reply in Gmail. We're going to attach those tools later. I want the AI agent, before sending an email, to always clarify with the Telegram user that the email or reply they're about to send is good. The user should be able to make edits in this email draft. It should also always clarify with the user the email they're replying to before it sends a reply in the reply tool. It should specify that the AI agent should always call the get all messages node to find the message ID of an email before applying to it at the reply messages tool. That probably all makes sense apart from the final bit. I added the final bit in just because sometimes our AI agents get confused about what exact message they're replying to and they have to find the message first. I'm literally just going to copy and paste all of this as our prompt for our AI agent. I added the system message and I put it in here, and as we can see now, all of this is nicely attached into our AI agent. The one thing that ChatGPT didn't get right is this bit here, the current dates. We actually want to give our AI agent the date and time now, because many of these models are trained on data up to a certain point in time. They actually don't know the date because it's not trained on today's data or the time today. It's only trained on data up to a certain point in time. So if we tell it the time now, we can just click now, and now that knows the date and time. And we need to make sure we put that into an expression here. So that date and time is allowed to be a variable. We're looking pretty good with our AI agent. We've got the input from our Telegram, we've got the prompt, and next we need to attach it to some tools. The tools we're going to be using today are all in Gmail. And the Gmail tools we're going to be using are Send, which we've got here, Reply, which we've got here, and we also need to add a Get Many tools. This is going to allow us to retrieve the emails from our inbox, whether we want emails to be read or whether we want to find what email we're replying to. This is going to help the AI agent. And so within each of these tools, we need to configure the parameters to actually tell the AI agent what to do in the Send Emails tool. We're going to start with this one in our Send Emails. I need to connect it to the correct account, so that's the account we're going to be using today. It's an old email. And so what we can do in here, we can change it to an expression. Obviously, the person we're sending the email to is going to depend on what we tell it to do in Telegram. So it's not always going to be the same email. We want this to be a variable. And what we can do is actually add a from AI expression, which is going to allow the AI agent to make the decision based on the input from Telegram on who we send the email to. We can come in here, and if we type in this, that is the sender email, so who we send an email to. And we can, if we want, it doesn't really need this, but I quite like adding it just for that extra bit of security. You can add a description of what this is, so the person so just to give it that little bit extra bit of security. So again, in the subject, we can do from AI as well, and we can just type in subject. We can give it some more information as well. And finally, we've got the message. So what actually are we going to be sending in the body of the email? So again, I'm going to use the from AI expression, email body. And again, I'm going to give it a little bit more information, the body. So I'm not 100% sure why this is showing an error. I can't think of any reason why my expression is wrong. So if it does show errors when we actually come to testing this out, then we can change this when we get around to it. And the final thing we're going to do in here is append the NaN attribution. So that basically, if you don't turn this off at the bottom of your email, it says this email was sent automatically with NaN, and I do not want that on. So next we've got the reply tool. So in here, this is where the agent can get a bit confused sometimes. So it often doesn't know which email to reply to, and it needs the message ID. So again, we are going to do the from AI expression, and we're going to say message ID and give it definitely some context here, because it does often get confused about this. So we're going to say the message ID, and I'm going to say find this in the get all tool. So hopefully that should give us a bit more security with, again, that little bit of extra information there. Again, I'm not sure why this is appearing red. I'm hoping when we come to testing it out that no problems appear. Fingers crossed that should be okay. And again, here we've got the message, so we can pretty much write the same thing as we did before. Finally, we're going to append the NaN attribution again. And in our last tool, which is the get many, this is a little bit more complicated. So we've got a couple different parameters here. So I keep the return all off, and in here we can see what it is. So whether to turn all results or only up to a given limit. So if we return everything, we're going to run out of tokens in our ChatGPT. So OpenAI adds a token limit. I think there's token limits per minute and per day as well. So if we're returning thousands of emails, it's going to hit that token limit, and we actually don't want that. So what we can do here is, again, add a from AI expression. So that is going to be the total amount of emails which we want to retrieve. And that it would also depend on what the user says. So if the user says, return me the last 10 emails, then that is going to say in there, in the limit parameter, 10. And it would be the same if we were looking to reply to one email, it would find the email in here and the limit would be one email. So we can add the expression in. So this simplify thing here says whether to return a simplified version of the response instead of the raw data. So I'm going to switch this on again, just to avoid hitting those token limits. And we actually don't need the raw data. Simplified version is always enough, and we get everything we need to see the email body, see who it's from, etc. And we're also going to add some filters in here. So we want to do this just for our inbox. So I've turned the label name or ID on, and I'm going to scroll down to inbox, which is there. So that's only going to retrieve stuff from my inbox. And then we're going to add a received after, which I'm going to add another expression. So for this expression, I've added the description as being the time a user specifies which the email was received after. If there is no time, then please leave this empty. So we use this. So if the user on Telegram says, please receive me all my emails from yesterday, then the received after is going to make sure it only does it from yesterday. And we're also going to add a received before as well. So that would be before today. So that allows the AI agent to use time to fetch the correct emails. So I'm going to turn on the receive before, and we're going to add in a similar expression. So for this expression, again, we've said the time a user specifies which the email is received after. If there's no time, then please leave this empty. And finally, we're going to add in the sender email. So we might be asking on Telegram, find all the emails from this specific email that I've received today. So we're going to add a from AI expression as well in here. And there we go. I didn't feel the need to add an extra description for that because it's always quite good at that. So we're pretty much set up. And the final thing we need to do is connect our AI agent back up to Telegram so that when it performs an action or when it reads an email, it then is able to come back into Telegram and say, here's the email that I've read. So we firstly need to test this out. So we've got an error first. That's because I didn't set up the window buffer memory. So in our window buffer memory, we basically need to tell it where it's getting its memory from. And in this case, it's Telegram. So in here, to define our expression below, the context window length I spoke about earlier is how many messages does it want to have memory from back. So I always set this to 10. So this means it takes 10 messages, 10 of the previous messages, and uses this for its memory. And for the key, we want the following expression, which basically allows us to connect it up to Telegram. And that's what we need to add into our window buffer memory. So that's the message ID, which we can find in here. So if we come to testing this out again, it should be working. Again, problem. Let's have a look what it is. Message ID. It's because of these stuff, and I figured out why they're wrong. I just needed a bracket at the end. Very basic and silly error from me. That needs a bracket. So again in here, this one needed a bracket and this one needed a speech mark in there. So just silly basic errors from me. And I'm hoping now this should work. There we go. So it's called in the brain, it called the memory, and we've got some data here. So it delivers one item, and now we can finally connect this to Telegram. So in Telegram, we're gonna tell it to send a text message, and we need firstly the chat ID. So that tells the agent what chat to send it back to. So this is going to be again from here, the message ID. We can drag and drop that very easily, and the text is the output from the AI agent. So we can drag and drop that in there. So now everything should be working nicely, and we can come into testing our AI agent. So we come into my email, and I'm emailing myself. So this is going to be a bit of a rubbish demo because I'm sending an email from Tom to Tom. So you've got an email saying if I would like to grab a coffee at 2 p.m. today. So if you come into our email assistant, I'm going to firstly, before I do that, test our workflow. Come into our email assistant and say, what is the last email I received? Read. So that's triggered our agent. It's used the get all messages tool, and we'll see what it replied with. The last email received is from Thomas Ormsby. Here's a summary of it. Would you like to grab a coffee today at 2 p.m? So I would like to reply to this email. I'm going to say reply, can we make it 3 p.m? Test our agent again. And it should firstly get them. It hasn't done that. Even better, it's told us what our draft looks like. So can we make it 3 p.m. instead? I'd like to make it a bit more formal. Say read full email draft, sign it off. Here we go. Dear Thomas, thank you for your invitation. Would it be possible to reschedule a coffee meet at 3 p.m. instead? Look forward to hearing you. So I think that's perfect. And I could say go ahead, send. Just to confirm, here's the final draft. So that's a bit annoying. It doesn't really need to do that, but I'm sure we can sort that out quite easily. Just for the demo purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and say yes. So in NAN, we've got an error replying to the message. And I think that's because it called the reply before actually getting the message ID. So we can have a look in here. And I think on the second run, it should have been successful. So it's sent on the second run. If we come into the first one, there's an error because the message ID couldn't be found. But 2 of 2, it has sent it. So we can have a look in our email now. And I'm hoping, here we go. Dear Thomas, thank you for your invitation. Would it be possible to reschedule our coffee meeting to 3 p.m. instead? So perfect. So that has simplified that process massively, saving me loads of time drafting an email, thinking about what I'm going to say, making it sound nice and formal. And the final thing we're going to be testing out is that send email tool. So I'm going to pick a random email address and send an email, not reply, just send an email out of the blue. So it's not going to be random, actually. I'm going to send it to myself. So I've asked send an email to my own email address and asked him if he has heard of the great no-code automation platform NAN. So let's give this a test. And it should have drafted us an email first. So I'm happy that it hasn't called any of these tools yet, because it should tell me what the email is and allow me to edit it in here. So, hi Thomas, I hope this message finds you out. I want to ask if you heard of the great no-code automation platform called NAN. Looking forward to your thoughts. Best, Tom. Does this look good to you? Would you like to make any edits? That looks fine to me. I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to go yes, send it. Now, come back into NAN, and I'm hoping that it should call this send messages tool. It hasn't. Let's have a look what it says. Just to confirm, here's the final draft. That is annoying. I'm guessing that's to do with my prompt in the AI agent in here. So I could read this and I could prompt it again and say, you don't need to confirm twice. But to be honest, I'm not that bothered about it. I think it's actually quite good that it's really concise in saying, this is what the email we're sending is, just because I think a lot of people with all this AI automation stuff, they're going to be very wary of AI completely taking over their inbox. So I think definitely keeping a human in the loop at all points is very good. So I'm hoping now, after I say it should definitely send it. Send the email. And there we go. It's called send. Let's have a look in here. Your email has been successfully sent. So let's have a look in my sent again. Here we go. Hi Thomas, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to ask if you had a great no-code automation platform called NAN. Perfect. So I forgot to mention that with setting up your credentials in Gmail and OpenAI, I'm going to also add a link in the description on how to do that. Setting up with OpenAI is very simple. You are going to have to pay for some tokens. They're very cheap. I think I've been building AI agents for about 2-3 months now, and I've only spent £20 on that. And I think I've still got £5 of tokens left. So they're very cheap. Setting up the Gmail credentials are a bit more confusing. So there'll be a bit more of a lengthy video on that in the description. But again, it takes about 5 minutes. So thank you all for following along. I hope you learned something today. I think this is such a cool platform which allows anyone to build these AI agents with completely no coding skills whatsoever. I think AI agents are going to revolutionize the economy. I definitely think it's worth doing. I think everyone should be looking into AI because it's here to stay. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.